What shows up on a criminal background check? And for my brothers and sisters who are licensed private investigators, how much can you make doing background checks? Hi, this is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com. I have here in front of both of us an example of what shows up when you do a criminal background check. An example for people who are interested. What might you get? What does this look like? Here's what it looks like. At the top of the page, start out with the person's name. And any aliases that I discover along the way that I include there. And then labeled clearly, this is the criminal records search. And it's searched by county, county by county. That's the best way, the most thorough way you're going to get criminal history on a person. So I initially show that it's a search of Francis County, Illinois. This is in the municipal court. I give the case number and the date of the offense and the filing date, which sometimes are different. I give the charges spelled out easily so that even a non-technical person outside of this industry would understand unlawful conduct towards a law enforcement officer. The disposition date. The disposition date is the date that of the final resolution. That would be guilty, not guilty, dismissed, those types of things. And then I give the disposition of the case. In this case, this person was found guilty and given a $150 fine. It might not surprise you to learn that when you see one criminal offense, it's not uncommon to find others. Let's scroll down just a little bit here. Let's find also in the municipal court, the lower court. This is where you find misdemeanors and traffic offenses, that type of thing. Again, here's the case number and an offense date. It was a different date. And the charge in this case was aggravated menacing. Now, some places this might be a felony, but in this case it's a misdemeanor. I'm going to scroll a little bit here. The disposition date and the disposition, he was found guilty. He was given 120 days in jail, 188 days suspended, $150 fine, and court cost. Scroll down a little bit more, another type of offense. And this is kind of interesting to look at because this one includes cases, elements that were dismissed. Now, for pre-employment screening, probably not going to be able to include the dismissed charges because honestly, let's face it, it's America. If you're not found guilty in a court of law, you ain't guilty, technically speaking. So again, here in the municipal court, we find that this is a misdemeanor charges. And again, some of these seem felonious to me, but you get the offense date and the filing date. And you see that defense date and filing date at the exact same time. We're going to see probably the guy got locked up. There were 6 charges initially filed. Very, very common. Officers will charge you with everything. And I would say rightly so. If you've got my book, 51 Dirty Tricks Bad Guys Really Hate, that's, charge with everything and see what sticks. Sometimes that's not fair, and sometimes it's just the way the system is working. He was charged with driving under the influence, fleeing and eluding, no operator's license, flashing traffic signals, so he probably went to a flashing red light or something like that, reckless operation, and unattended vehicle. Okay, so just let me tell you, in my mind's eye, the guy gets lit up because he's swerving or something. He tries to evade the police officers driving away. He runs through traffic signals. They charge that, they consider that also reckless operation. And then he probably bailed from his vehicle, leaving it unattended and running. So these charges tell a story. There was a disposition date. Look at that, months later, and not at all uncommon, especially on bigger things like this. A disposition on charge number 1, driving under the influence. He was found guilty, 6 months in jail, all suspended except for 3 days, probably because he got locked up right there on the scene and did 3 days in county lockup. He was given 2 years of probation, fine a little over a grand, and $150 suspended of that fine. He was to pay court costs and a license suspended. His license suspended for 180 days. He was, if you skip down to case number 3, no operator's license, he was found guilty and given 6 months in jail, suspended. So a license suspension for 180 days when your license was already suspended, go figure. Again, for pre-employment screening, we can't count, like, for example, fleeing, eluding. We would not include that because he wasn't found guilty of it. But if this was pre-employment screening, there's pretty clear case that he may not have a driver's license right now, and that may be a deal breaker for hiring somebody. Also, you'll notice charges 4 through 6 were dropped, and again, probably in a plea bargain, and that doesn't surprise me at all. Very, very common. So how much can you make as a private investigator providing these county level criminal records checks or other background checks in particular? Let's take a look at the invoice that went out for this. And like the background check I showed you is just based on a true story. This has been modified just to be a nice, clean, generic example so you can see what a real one looks like without violating someone's sense of privacy about these things. The invoice will look something like this. If you do a paper invoice or even a computer file invoice, it'll have the date. Note that we are talking about 2004 example and prices, who it's sold to, including the company, and then what was included. In this case, there were 6 background checks done, these county level criminal records checks at $25 a pop, which again, 2004 prices. It's a little bit more now. We'll talk about that. And the total amount for 6 of them is $150. Not a bad thing. Like, look, here's the whole point is when you can get hooked up with a company that does these things regularly, whether for pre-employment screening or whatever, these human resources departments, you're going to get batches of them at a time. And as you run these checks, you're going to see that very quickly it adds up to give you some cash in your pocket. This is just one invoice from one company. And as you gain more clients, you'll pick up more and more business like this. How much does it cost to actually do a county level check? I mean, if you're doing it yourself, if you're running down to the courthouse, or then yeah, you got parking and your time is tied up. But if you're knocking out 6 at a time, some counties do have certain fee levels, so there might be $2, $3, $4 associated with each one. A lot of counties don't. This is public record, and for those of us who either regularly did it or regularly do it now, you kind of just go down there and do it, and you kind of even become one of the kind of the standard people that's down there. Going down a little further, do charge sales tax as required by your state, and collect the money that you're due, in this case $158, remittance due upon receipt. So that's 2004. Let's look at today, just a quick look online at how much this type of thing costs. Just a generic first up type advertiser, which sometimes those are a little more expensive, but you can see they have different levels of background checks. This is the type of thing I encourage you in my book, How to Make Money as a Private Investigator, have different levels. Their basic check, in this case, does not include a county level criminal records check, and that's $30. They're more what they call their essential package, which is a clever name. Their most popular package for $55 does include what they call a national criminal records check, which don't even get me started on that not being a real thing. Read the fine print on what they call a national criminal records check. And it does at the bottom say unlimited county criminal search. Now, I don't know what they consider unlimited county criminal search, but county is singular. I'm guessing it's just one, and they will give you everything they find in that county. It's not like, I don't get the impression they're going to search 8 different counties for you for $54. So looky, here's a package, SSN trace, which is pretty standard. You're going to end up more or less doing that anyways. Sex offender registry, super simple and cheap. Global watch list records, super simple. National criminal records check, depending on how you define that. That's a $55 background check. Let me scoot over here for you. And looky, there is a professional level for $80. Includes verification of education and employment. Both things, although I find them distasteful to do, super dirt cheap, simple to do, or super simple to do. Some places do use a paid service for pre-employment for previous employment verification, that type of thing. But essentially, it's not. Now it's a phone call thing. For $80, if you don't mind making the phone calls for for the employment verification, for education verification, then you got this nice little $80 pack. So how much can you make from this? Say you're just going with the $55 essential pack, and you got 6 people doing that. You're clearing $300. You will tack on, I'm sure this company does, any court fees that are associated with this thing. So if you have a record search, Bureau of Motor Vehicles, that type of thing, that hits you with a $5 fee or $12 fee, that goes to the client as well. And that they should know about that well before they get the invoice. You've discussed all that in the contractual obligations. Bottom line, if you're a licensed private investigator, you can be doing these, you can be offering them to companies, and as you pick up more and more companies, you'll be making more and more money. And these nice, I would say easy things, these batches that you get from multiple companies, it can really add up to a pretty penny. If you're a little guy like me, and I was just kind of trying to run a business and make enough to pay the mortgage and a whole 9 yards, these things really add up. And as you pick up a human resources department, here's a clever little behind the scenes thing. When that human resources manager moves to a different company, he or she will take you with them. It's very, very common. So the company that initially hired you, that HR manager, they're going to keep you. They're not going to stop doing criminal records checks or pre-employment screening, and you're going to pick up another company really just because there's a normal amount of migration within the industry. There's just so many great things about this. If you are in a position where you're going to plan on taking your private investigator state licensing exam in the next 6 to 12 months, please do check out ShadowSchool.us, because I'm telling you, you take that's learning that I have over there, and if you, after taking that, don't pass your PI licensing exam, I will refund every penny you paid. It's a very thorough, good way to take the tens of thousands of hours of experience I have, the thousands of hours I have teaching this both in the classroom and, okay, thousands of hours, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours teaching this in the classroom and online, taking all of that, getting it for one price, and to be able to go into your test knowing that you've got the fundamentals that you need. It's a real boost. And considering that you're going to be using this to make money for a long time, it's really a drop in the bucket. It's a very affordable compared to what you get. It's worth it, is what I'm saying. Check it out over at ShadowSchool.us. In the meantime, this is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com. Remember, do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing.